Hi, I'm Trey Carney, and I'll be doing my persuasive speech on hip hop and how it's perceived in society and try to turn your opinion on it in a more positive light. I'll persuade my audience by taking a stand with hip hop and clearing up some misconceptions while also going into the positive effects hip hop has and the art behind it. Because the truth isn't pretty. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's harsh. But to bring awareness to an issue, you have to be blunt and you have to be harsh. This is the best way I can describe hip hop. Whether it's fighting against racism with Public Enemy or songs about women's rights by Tupac or expressing yourself through freedom of speech by NWA. Hip hop is another outlet for people to drive their point home while also keeping the audience interested. Today I'll be talking about art in the different forms, whether it's being an actor, being a poet, or a singer, because those are things where you're able to express yourself while not getting the backlash and the stigmatism from hip hop. An actor, you could be a serial killer on the screen and win awards for it, or be a bank robber and your character is not taken for granted or taken into place, and you can still be seen as yourself. And the same goes for singing. You can get your point across, but since you're doing it in the least harsh way, then you're not getting the backlash from it. Actors such as Denzel Washington have played bank robbers, crooked cops, hitman, and he is still regarded as one of the best actors of all time and is still seen in a great light. Singers such as Beyonce sings about violence, sings about sexual content, and she's still considered one of the greatest singers of all times. Over 20 Grammys, and she is one of the biggest artists of all time. And the same goes for other artists such as Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. They all have extensive catalogs talking about different subject matter, and sometimes it can get violent, sometimes it get overly sexualized, but they're not seen in the light as rappers are. And I think that's the biggest problem, and I think a solution for that is we start including those people in those lights. I think if an artist has a song or tells a story about something and it comes from the heart, then the story should be separated from the person that made it. I think if they have a song with a lot of curse words or a lot of something, they can do that without being judged for it, and it can be considered a character or it can be considered another form of art to way to express themselves. These artists have came from backgrounds that I don't think people really think of or can imagine. Poverty, the absence of parents in homes, violence. And I think if they're doing their best in trying to educate people who probably have never been to these places or don't know what it's like or inspired to go to these places, I think with them getting this out, they're able to kind of stray it away from people and tell them what to do and what not to do. This is why I'm not visiting this place. This is why I'm from here, but I'm not proud to be from here. How to handle certain situations that you never know, that they've been in countless times, that you might be foreign to in a way. And they can do that and still get the love and the glamour that the actors and the singers get. I think a lot of times that artists are put in sort of like a box. Like as soon as you hear a rapper talking and you hear the bass and you hear the aggressiveness and you hear the curse words, you're automatically thrown off for it. But I think a lot of times that if you really take a deep dive and really sit there and listen and appreciate the songs, then I think, and listen to the lyrics behind it, that you can kind of come to a new understanding about it. Though there is artists who don't use curse words and are probably more kid friendly, the Chance the Rappers of the world, the Little Yachty's, the Little Uzis, they're all tailor made to the kids to kind of get them a jump start on hip hop, which is completely fine. And then you build it up as different artists if you want to have maybe a more political stance and take stances in that front of freedom of speech. You have a Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Ab Soul, Schoolboy Q, all those guys are big on talking about the issues in their community and really taking a stand for certain things. And then they have the artists who are extremely carefree and try to take you away from that point and not on the more violent or the more political side where it's just carefree, you just want to sit back and have fun. And that's kind of where I see myself. I'm a music artist myself, and I like to take people away from certain things. A lot of things going on in the world, political violence, and I think a lot of times art can be an escape, and especially for hip hop. There's so many different branches and different genres of hip hop that you can't denounce. Hearing one thing, you can't denounce the whole genre because one artist sounds completely different from the next. The super explicit and violence, some people relate to because that's all they're ever known, that's all they're ever seen. But coming from someone who's come from an environment that is not that, I can see how it can be seen as more on the harsher side and hard on the ears. And I completely understand that. But different artists hit people differently. So one person experiences can go perfectly hand in hand with the violence in rap. But if you're more big on political base, then there's artists for that as well. And I think that's what I really want from here is for artists to be given a chance. Not just to be denounced by their tattoos or the beats or the rasp in their voice or the curse words. Because sometimes I feel like to really drive and hit your part home, you can't walk on eggshells and you have to be unapologetic and you have to be you. And I think once you start pretending to be somebody else, then it kind of dilutes the brand. So I think hip hop is a staple for if you want to really get into expressing yourself and listen to people express themselves and be unapologetic and really feel the passion behind something. Because a lot of times you hear a pop song and it sounds nice, but they're not really saying anything. And for me, I really enjoy hearing something and it strikes me, whether I get angry or happy or sad or hyper. I think that's the most important thing of art. So I hope I've swayed you guys in a little way of maybe next time you flipping through the radio and you hear a rap song, you actually give it a chance and listen to the subject matter. Because a lot of the things are deeper than what they appear. And it's not all about the money, the glam, the women. These guys have real stories behind what they're saying. And I really hope that maybe next time you'll give it a chance. I'm Trey Carney. Thank you for listening to my speech. Have a good night.